There it is. It's one of my favorite shows, the Today Show.
Hopefully it's working this time.
My mom is.
I think I'll go to YouTube.
Say that again.
Thank God it took good notes last night. Because normally it's slacking on notes.
So she was so
You
upset.
said it.
Oh, my favorite
You
show.
said it out. That's your going to, so I'm gonna leave this. with you.
Yeah, with Matt Lauer, who ended up being the one.
Yeah. Another thing. Gosh,
Oh my
we've been
God.
watching a long time, and what do you know? You're
I
your
know.
mother's child.
It's 'cause I used to watch with her. It was my
That's what
morning,
I'm
it's
saying.
my morning news too. And then she was like,
Where
"Well,
does
stop,
this
you're not
happen?"
watching this anymore." I was like, "What do you mean?"
I know, this is how we influence our children.
Like, what do you mean I'm not watching?
I really liked her a lot also.
Yeah, Ann Curry was cool. I liked her.
Good. No good.
Yep.
Is it online?
Yep.
All right, can we all stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Andy, sometime maybe in April, if we have an April 1 meeting, you should move the flag to the other side, see how many people stand up and look at the wall with the flag behind. Because I bet you would all just stare that way. Because we're so used to the flag being there.
The
Oh, well,
board will do that.
Well, the board will definitely be looking that way. It'll take us a few minutes to figure it out. Everybody, welcome to the December 12th, 2024 meeting of the Village Board of Trustees for the Village of Nyack. It's lovely to have you all here. You'll note a couple of things. One is we have mics now. That we didn't have mics forever, and then we used my karaoke machine, which has 2 mics that we used as a makeshift microphone setup in the last 6 months or so. But now, due to the hard work of Andy Stewart and his team, we now have mics for each of the trustees, one for the village attorney, one for the desk that Andy and the clerk sit at, and one for the public comment. And I want to thank the Rock Shop, who gave us a wonderful deal on the microphones themselves. Also, the board that runs the system was a gift from Brianne Higgins and Maureen's Jazz Cellar that was sitting in their basement apparently. And then we happen to have some other equipment that was located in the basement here. So we're able to put it together and put together a system that everybody can you hear us, Drew, in the back? All right. A little too well? A little.
I have a nap.
It's gonna be hard now, yeah, you can't nap as easily. So our mics, we now have the mics, and so we're very grateful for that. I did want to also take a quick moment to thank Andy and Anne-Marie Tilsty and the DPW team for all the work to get the tree for Hezekiah Easter Veteran Square. They got the tree and they got that set up, and also thank the Chamber of Commerce for the work they did on it, Mark Mangan for the work he did on it, to do a tree lighting that we had last weekend, which was very lovely. We had the Rockland Ukulele Orchestra, is that what it's called? The Rockland Ukulele Orchestra had its international debut at the event, featuring, among other ukulele players, our own Andy Stewart on ukulele, of course, that's what he would be on. It's the only instrument they play. And it was a very nice event. Santa appeared, gave out some toys. It was really very good. So my thanks to everybody for working on that, and this is our last meeting of the year, and so we'll be wishing everybody a happy holiday season today's meeting, and also to let you all know, if you didn't see, on Sunday morning we're gonna have a visit from CBS News. John Elliott, the meteorologist who does the morning show there, is going to be coming back, and he's going to be doing a bunch of stand-ups to interviews with people here in Maine and Broadway, with a bunch of stores and restaurants and stuff. So if anybody wants to come down and be a part of that, cheer and whatnot, it's from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. So I'm sure that we'll have a massive turnout of people that want to be a part of it.
5:30 a.m.
On a more serious note, we're going to take a moment of silence. We've had 3 losses of people that were very important to the village in the last 6 months. One was Jim Liner. He was a trustee and deputy mayor. Kieran Quinn was mayor and trustee. And then Marie Lorenzini, who was a trustee for more than, I believe it's about 17 years that she served as trustee. She may be one of the longest serving trustees in the history of the Village of Nyack. She sat right here for many years. I overlapped with her, a number of us overlapped with her and her time on the board, and she was a delightful woman who was an unbelievably dedicated public servant. We thought about her at the tree lightings. It was the kind of event she loved. She would have been at it. She was at every event the village had every year. And she is terribly missed. And I'd like to take a moment of silence right now for her. We're also going to be adjourning the meeting at the end of the meeting in her honor, as well as in the honor of Mayor Quinn and Deputy Mayor Liner. So let's take that moment of silence. Thank you all very much. We have a relatively light meeting in terms of we have a number of resolutions, but they're mostly for events and things like that. And we do have time for public comment here at the top. And so is anybody signed up for public comment right now? Has nobody signed up? Did you want to come do public comment?
I haven't signed up, but.
Yeah, come on, there's not many people here. So yeah, we'll give it 3 minutes, the full 3 minutes.
Can you just
please
print
tell
your
us.
name on?
Sure.
Thank you.
And then please tell us who you are and if you live in the
My
village.
name's Joshua Lytle. I live on Bridge Street. Been a homeowner there for about 10 years. We have a really bad rat problem on Bridge Street. So for the whole summer coming home, if anytime you came home at night, there would be rats scurrying away down the street from you. If I enter my front yard, there's a rat in the garden somewhere who comes shooting out past me to escape. A couple years ago, when it really started in the backyard, which my backyard adjoins this sort of dead alleyway that's behind like the Greek restaurant Kavos and Olives, that little sort of alley space there. So we had dozens of rat holes there, and I've killed during the day like 3 or 4 rats in my backyard with a shovel. And we don't keep it a dirty house. We don't get trash around. But it's not just our house. I've seen rats on South Broadway. I was at a screening at Nyack Center a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a rat run into the stage inside Nyack Center. And I've seen dead rats on Bird Street laying out on the street. So there's been an email circulating through our block, which I think some of you have been CC'd, kind of part of that chain. But it's not just a Bridge Street issue. So I don't have an answer for it. But one of the things that came out of the email chain is that someone should come and speak and get on record, get into the minutes of the village about the issue. So I'm kind of here to raise it, and maybe you guys can tell me if there's anything that's having to address at the village level.
Thank you for coming in and bringing this up to us. Andy, we've had an email exchange. I know that I've been a part of about a rat issue, but I thought it was more toward the waterfront. Is that a different area of the village where we've had an issue?
No, not just the waterfront.
The email chain I'm referring to, that was waterfront based.
Yeah, that was actually Bridge Street.
That was Bridge Street.
Yeah,
Oh, that was
yeah.
the same one. Okay, so
So Mr. Lytle and his neighbors have been emailing, and I've had a number of conversations with our building inspector about rats. There's a lot to be said on the topic.
Yeah.
What we hope is that by reducing the amount of food available to them, that will have an impact. That's the most obvious thing to do. Not all of our neighbors on Bridge Street or elsewhere actually put their trash in trash cans. Not to say that a rat can't climb up the side of a trash can and get in there as well. It's kind of it has to be very well maintained to keep them out. But that's an issue that we can definitely crack down on using code enforcement. And And so that's one strategy that the village has that the building department and I are working on. I'm also coordinating with our private garbage carters who do the commercial pickups. And we need to figure out a way for certain restaurants who regularly put trash out on the street to containerize that trash. And it's a challenge for them because of the need to store their trash containers indoors when they're not being used. And so we need to have those conversations more assertively with our local businesses and try to figure out a way to get to a point where there aren't bags of trash sitting on the sidewalk that rats can easily kind of burrow into and find food. I think that's the first step. Parallel to that, and just as important, is the responsibility of building owners to do pest control. Many buildings in the village of Nyack have pest control contracts. They put out bait stations and they work on those issues by plugging up holes and finding the situations where Mr. Lytle is talking about and taking care of them. We need our landlords to be on their game as well. And then at the end of the day, we're definitely going to have some rats. I mean, they're naturally occurring. There's thousands of them down in the marina coming up through the storm drains. It's their habitat. So there's likely to always be some rats around. The question is, are we doing everything we possibly can to limit their population? And those are basically the two strategies that I'm aware of.
I'm glad that this came up because just this morning I was dealing with, I got calls from people that live in the plaza that's dealing with a lot of rats as well. And so I'm glad that you said the landlords or the owners of that property. But if they don't, I guess the building department, is that another source that you can call, that somebody can call as the health department?
So our building department is looking at ways of documenting the pest control contracts that there's two contracts that a building needs to have. One is a garbage carter and the other is a pest control service agreement with somebody who has expertise in that.
Is that required?
Well, to be honest, Mr. Lytle, I'm not sure what is required and what is not. I know what the best practices are, and I think that we need to look at it more closely to find out. The village code says you got to put your trash in a trash can. Like that's right. Black and white. Like we know that. As far as and frankly, we spend some time sort of chasing after landlords who don't even have a garbage carter contract. Typically it happens when someone moves out or when there's a new owner and you end up with trash accumulating, then we find them and we put them in touch with the carters and that solves the problem. And so there may be areas of a little bit of legislative tweaking that need to occur in order to properly kind of empower our building department. So we're going to find that out. But for the time being, Manny, who we all know is a very kind of by the book assertive guy, is looking at the ways that he can use his team to make sure buildings have a pest control contract and a carting contract if they're commercial buildings. And if they're residential, that they're doing proper garbage putouts and not leaving things sitting on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we've
There's also a problem of a lot of plastic trash cans that have like
They have holes in the
that
bottom.
just go right into.
Yep.
Or missing lids.
Yep.
Or the trash is piled up to the point where the lid isn't
Absolutely
actually closing.
Yeah.
And that's just out all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's a constant source of food.
Yep, definitely.
That's interesting.
So
'Cause
it's not only having garbage can, but actually having.
Doing it right.
a functional garbage can and then using it properly. And on our block, I know some of the people who kind of didn't deal with that were renters, right? So it's sort of like in their mind, it was the garbage, it was the landlord's, job. I guess, to have-
There's frequently a learning curve and even reasonable people could be a little confused at first as to who's responsible for what.
Right.
And but we need to be using code enforcement to make sure that people do comply with the basic rules of the game.
So does the town not give away garbage receptacles? Like I've seen them do it at like street fairs and stuff like that, or are those just the recycling?
You can get a recycling bin from the DPW.
So I've been, so in my walks around the village, so I've been buttonholed by a lot of restaurant owners, and they've actually showed me what's been happening. And they, you showed me basically, even the large, dumpsters that were overfilled and the lids were open and garbage was all over the place. So I think that the village perhaps should consider in its code requiring building owners and, restaurant owners to provide a contract with a, garbage collector. And two, the pest control regime. So they, both of them should be required. I know that Manny did a updated form with all of these issues laid out. And going to the various building owners and restaurants to get them to sign it, but I think it should be part of the code.
Yeah, it may well be that he currently has the jurisdiction to require proof of a pest control contract and a carting contract. I'm just not positive about that. But he's definitely kind of leaning into that.
My question is, so I know that, I don't know if that's something that's on their list to do as well, but this rodent problem is happening in residences as well. There's Nyack Plaza is just crawling with them, and also they've been seen in the Head Start, where the kids go out to play. So that's really kind of concerning. So as they're doing the code enforcement, even if it's for those kind of residential properties, will they then be getting in touch with the owners? If they see the traps are not, like they're growing grass in them or something like that, will they be contacting them as well, or not necessarily?
So I think we can have Manny come talk to the board about this, because I'm not aware of every detail of his code enforcement. But essentially it boils down to verifying that there's a pest control contract in place.
Okay.
Yeah, and also the Nyack Brook is a contributor to that, because Nyack Brook goes all the way under in those areas, right? And I think, is there any way, I have no idea, but is there any way to do some remediation inside Nyack Brook or something that can be done with pest control to keep them from coming down or going up from the, the marina has, the Memorial Park is infested. So they're coming up through Nyack Brook and they're looking for quote unquote greener pastures than in the rest of the village.
It's a theory. I have no idea if that's actually how rats move. I mean, they're clearly in the brook and on the waterfront and in buildings and yards and everywhere. And yeah.
Swans.
Squirrels eat rats? Who eats rats?
Yeah, I don't know.
Something
Hawks.
eats rats.
Hawks,
Very big cat.
Yeah.
cats,
Terrier.
cats.
All right, so we get a,
Or we have cats.
should the village buy 20 cats and put them loose?
High Taurus.
That's fine.
Spay them.
Listen, there's a ton of like cat adoption things on the Facebook every day.
Yeah.
But we should, here's the thing, everything you're talking about is about remediation going forward, but there's already a lot of rats, so we gotta figure out how to get rid of the rats that are already here. Because the rats that are,
they're gonna start growing.
preventing the rats from, giving the rats less food means that we'll get fewer rats coming in, but there's already rats that are here, we gotta figure out how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And I joke about predator, but we gotta do the trapping, there's gotta be some action being taken, and I think it's not unreasonable for people to ask that, yes, we're putting the responsibility on the building owners to put out pest control, but we should be maybe proactively doing something ourselves.
Yeah, we
down
do.
the marina.
The village has a pest control contract. I recently got a new one that's better.
Okay,
We have bait stations all over the park, at the DPW, around this building, and over at the water department.
let's make sure that they know that, because I think they will, they think we're not doing anything to address it, and we should be assertive in the fact that we've got our own program, but at the same time, it needs, we had a bunch of emails from people who said, hey, there's rats problems, and then like literally they were open cans in front of their house. Like you can't, it's a group effort to try to restrict this. Thank you for bringing this to our, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We appreciate it. And we'll try, I'm sorry that you're going through this, and we'll try to see what we can to address it. And if it does require legislation for us to give Manny the authority to be able to require for any multifamily building or any, I don't know, we probably do for residential, single residential as well. But certainly in the business district in the DMU 1 and 2. There should be requirements for building owners to have the pest control contract as well as a cardiac contract. They definitely need a cardiac contract. So thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate you bringing that up.
And I also appreciate what you're saying about a top-down approach too.
Mhm.
Because I think it's gonna take working from both ends.
Yeah,
That's the way.
exactly.
And just a small note on carding for businesses, I don't know how it works, but I do know one of the issues. That, like, for example, that alleyway I'm talking about between Park and Bridge, that's behind Cabos Grill and Olives, that sort of dead space. I don't think they have enough physical space back there for all the businesses that produce waste. To put. enough
Right, that's what I'm saying, that's the
containers to actually,
challenge.
You know, there's sorts of challenges like this, so.
There's a real challenge with,
Carding would have to be, I guess, more frequent, like frequent enough. To actually remove the waste.
yeah, I mean, every restaurant has a daily pickup of trash.
Oh, okay,
And it's just, they have to have that. They don't store trash for more than, it goes out every single day. It's just that some restaurants have space for trash cans and some haven't adopted that practice. Maybe they don't have space, but they haven't looked hard enough. For whatever reason, they're putting the bags out on the sidewalk and Carlo Menudo comes and gets them.
right.
And so we need to try to figure out how to crack the code on that. There's some that have gotten the containers, like if you go down to Pizza Bistro down on South Broadway, like he got the containers, but he doesn't have any place to put them, so he leaves them on the sidewalk. You know,
Right.
Strawberry Place manages to cram them in their door, even though it's hardly any room.
Right.
There's just, people are trying and they're working with our carters to try to adopt better practices. But there's definitely kind of an architectural issue as well when it comes to where you put these things, yeah. Maybe they need to go across the street, maybe they can find a neighboring property where they can store their cans, I don't know, but we need to work on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you.
I know at least one person in the audience is thinking, there were no rats during the Hammond administration, were there? Hammond administration was rat-free.
I do have a comment on that or a theory.
Okay, yeah, that relates to
Since
me
we
becoming
never
mayor.
had rats in our backyard for 6-7 years. And then it was in 2022, spring, summer 2022.
Yeah.
Suddenly there was like a dozen holes in our backyard. And I could film out the back window of my
So what do you think happened?
office at night and see
The
rats.
restaurant's
Literally,
closed.
I think it was the main sewer lines being replaced around that era.
Oh, that does disrupt.
There was a happy streets.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. Anytime you do construction on a building, the nearby buildings will experience.
It wasn't just buildings, it was the mains and.
I'm just saying, any kind of construction dislodges them. All right,
Yeah.
we gotta move to other issues. Thank you for that. We have no presentations or public hearings. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes from November 14th?
Second.
Any comments or questions about the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
I'm abstaining, I wasn't here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, one abstention, everybody else voted yes. We have a number of action items. I'm going to take a prerogative to move up action item 7.11, 711, resolution 24-181, which is on page 5 of the agenda. It's the resolution approving the mayor's appointment of Don Hammond to the Board of Nyack Housing Authority. Can I get on the table?
Second.
As you all know Don. Don was appointed to the Housing Authority in the beginning of the year, and then there was a conflict because there's a rule regarding his former position as mayor and whether that created a conflict. It was a very complicated, different rule. So we had to step back from it, but this is an appointment that would be fine because it would become effective a year after he has finished his term as mayor. And we really he would be the final, we've had several appointments this year to the building, the Housing Authority, and he would be, I think, a real asset to the Housing Authority. So I'm hopeful that we will pass this today and get him started in January. All right, any comments or questions?
You just can't stay away, can you, Don?
Yes, you can't quit us. You can't.
Wait till the other grandchild comes.
Oh, well,
There's no other way.
No, I know,
There's no other way.
there's
No
no,
other
way.
I hope I didn't say anything.
And if Don doesn't show up at the next meeting, we're gonna appoint him to 3 other boards. when we do the reconciliation at the beginning of the year. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Don, thank you for your service to the Housing Authority. Very much. And Drew is here from the Housing Authority. Thank you for your service on the Board of Housing Authority.
Yeah.
Drew. And thank you for being here.
Welcome, positive change.
All right, well, good. I appreciate it. I hope so. We put Taylor Mandelbaum, Minerva Parker, and now Don Hammond on the board this year. All right, moving back to the action items in order, we'll go back to 7.1, resolution 24-171, accepting the audited voucher summary. Can I get it on the table?
Motion. Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. 7.2, resolution 24-172 to approve a street closure for the 26th annual Rockland Pride Sunday event on June 8th, 2025. Can I get on the table?
Motion. Second.
This would be for June 8th, and there is there's no rain date. This is the annual Pride, they do the parade and they have the street closures, and it's a lovely event. Any comments or questions?
Has this been checked against the street fair schedule?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no conflict.
No conflicts. Yeah, this is all worked out. All the dates that we have on the board.
So you just said there's no rain date?
Do you see a rain date on us? I look for rain date. I don't see
Didn't
it.
ask for one.
I think they do it rain or shine.
No.
Yeah, rain or shine, they're gonna be out there, getting rained on if they have to. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. 7.3, resolution 24-173, approving a permit application for a street closure on South Franklin for Blocktoberfest on September 20th, 2025. Can I get on the table?
So moved.
Second.
I just want to make note of the fact that we're actually getting requests 10 months in advance now for these things, which usually we get those, we got to approve it today because it's that next Thursday. So our thanks to Travis Coster for putting this together so quickly. He's done this event a couple times. This would be the third or fourth that he has done at that space. It's always very popular.
Good job.
Does a nice job. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 7.4, resolution 24-174, approving a closure of the RDP Village parking lot for a drive-in movie event. Can I get it on the table?
Motion. Second.
We did this last summer, this last August, also on a Sunday. This does have a Sunday, a rain date for the following Sunday on August 24th. It's a lovely event. They do a great job with it. It's nice they do it on a Sunday, so it doesn't, Saturday night is a big night for the restaurants, and to close that lot is a little bit difficult for them. So I appreciate them moving that to Sunday. Any other comments or questions?
Just one comment, it's a little related to an email I sent earlier about the African American Day Parade. I see we're approving a lot of events that are way in
But that's not
advance.
on here, is it?
It's not, and I've been asking for it to be on here, it should have been on here.
What's the date?
It's June 7th,
Which date? Which event?
June
Which
7th,
event?
it's the same weekend as Pride,
Okay, we'll do it next.
thank you.
What event?
It's the African American Day.
Oh, okay, yes.
We do it every year, we just haven't gotten the resolution on it on the board yet, but we'll make sure we get that date. Yeah, that's another one that we usually approve a few months in advance. It's nice to get it done now. All right, well, for the resolution we have on the table for the drive-in movie, any other comments or questions?
What movie are they showing?
We don't think they know yet. Last year they did a concert movie.
Yeah.
Any other comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, on my own initiative, I'm going to offer a resolution. I'm going to number it 2024-179. You got that?
There was already a.
Yes.
Is there a 179? I'm sorry. Well, I missed it. I'm sorry.
80, wait, we
I'm
got
sorry, go all the way to 180. God, my gosh,
185.
all these things. 185. 185. Motion, I'm making a motion for a resolution of the Nyack Village Board approving a permit application for a street closure for the African American Day Parade for June 7th,
No rain date.
2025,
Following weekend.
and with a rain date of June 14th, 2025.
Doesn't that also include the actual event happening in Memorial Park?
It does.
It's,
And also then closing Memorial Park, well, not closing Memorial Park, because it's still open, but
Yeah, so-
offering use of Memorial Park for that. Is that wording clear?
Mhm.
Okay, that's the motion. Can I get that motion on the table?
Motion, second.
Okay, any further comments or questions about it?
We just double check the dates just to make sure.
And the time, you don't have a timer or anything, right?
I'm looking at, yeah, so it would be, the street closure would start at noon, probably go for like an hour until 1. Well, that's when the parade, it goes till, and then after that, we'll be in the park until about 5.
Is there anything going on the following weekend, just for rating purposes?
7th and 14th, we don't have anything right now. I'm just looking at my calendar. Pride is on the 8th, this would be on the 7th. This is on Saturday, so there's never a conflict with street fairs are always on Sundays.
And it's a
so-
temporary street closure.
Yeah, it's only for the parade.
It's only for the parade
And then
itself.
the use of the Memorial Park.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah, no.
and
Cheryl, just.
Yes.
Do we check the following weekend just in case it rains?
I just checked the 14th, yeah, I have it on my calendar, there's something on the 14th. The next day after the 14th is Father's Day, but there's no event on Father's
Yeah.
Day. And the 14th is the day before anyway, so not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
I don't believe there is no street fair in June.
Mhm.
They have them in July.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments? Lindy, is this all clear? You got it
Yes,
now?
yep.
All right, so we'll double check it next, let's make sure we
Will you
get the
be-
text of that resolution.
Mhm.
And then send it out to all of us for review via email, and we'll just review in case there's any other changes or whatnot. But the sum and substance of the resolution is what we're discussing now.
Yes, and the committee will be meeting on Wednesday, so
You want to have it done.
yeah, I wanna have it done before then, but I also will firm up some of those details, but it's the same schedule we do every year.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion resolution 185 passes 2024-185, which will be the final resolution of the 24 calendar year. We start again with 2025-1 in January. So that's a notable thing. All right, what are we up to? We did drive-in, 7.5, resolution 24-175, approving the scheduling of the public hearing in January to amend the parking rules to regulate and restrict parking spaces to be designated and reserved for electric vehicles only. Can I get this on the table?
So moved.
Second.
Andy, you want to just give us a quick explanation what this is about?
So our code has a fine for parking in a handicap spot, for parking next to a fire hydrant, parking in a loading zone. It does not currently have one for parking in an EV only spot. So the intent of this change is to create a code that enables our parking authority to actually fine somebody for parking a non-EV car in an EV spot.
Got it.
This would not necessarily allow for fining somebody for parking, if they park an EV there and it's parked. It's not charging, it's just an EV, but there's already a rule about them, they have to be actively charging or a reasonable period of time.
Yes, the way it works is you plug in, and once your car is fully charged, the program can be set to have an idling charge. So if you just like leave your car there forever, ours currently does not. Depending on the usage level, we may want to shift it over to that.
Okay.
There's
That's
no,
something we can handle with the charging.
it's a software thing.
And do the parking rules apply to these spots as well, don't they?
So our intent, Mayor, is not to require someone to pay for
The parking,
whatever it is, $1 an hour for parking. If you're charging, you're paying for the electricity.
okay,
And if the village board wants us to have that layered on fee in addition, we could do that. It's not hard, but the sense of the sustainability committee was that we wanted to make it as easy as possible to charge your EV and without giving them the extra cost of paying for parking in that
okay,
spot.
but I do think we should have an idling fee, because I do think that if the rule is technically that you have to have an EV to park there, you can park an EV there and not charge. You just be using the spot, that's a nice free spot.
Yeah, if they're not plugged in, I mean, that's a nuance. If they're not actually plugged in, then that would be
There is
weird.
no idle charging that we can make for them.
If they're
So let's
plugged
look
in,
at
the
the-
machine itself charges them, and I don't, so.
Well, we have a public hearing. to
Let's-
go
let's
to
see
and
how
discuss
it
these things in
goes,
about a
yeah.
month, so we can talk about
Yeah.
it.
Okay, I'll wait then for whenever.
Actually, about, yeah, I have
Oh,
a
there's-
truck station is broken, does it still count?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 4 down by the marina, and there's going to be 4 by the veterans lot
Oh,
as soon
okay,
as they
because
finally
right now I
get
think there's 2 there, right? You know,
it. 4.
there's 4 there right now?
Yeah, they're
But
just
they're
not
not-
activated,
yeah.
that's all.
So do we still give people tickets for parking there if they're not active?
No.
All right, can I get, sorry, any other questions or comments on this resolution, which is simply to set a public hearing?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 7.6, resolution 24-176, resolution approving locations of parking spaces designated for EVs only. So this, can I get this on the tape? All right, this just approves the designation of 4 parking spaces on the west side of Veterans Parking Lot and 6 parking spaces on the east side of Spear Street Lot, abutting the town sewer pump station, reserved for electric vehicles only. We can put that in, that's in place separately from the rule that would then fine somebody for parking there when, so we're giving them more time. We're designating them right now, there just won't be any fine for a while.
Right.
Right, okay. So it's getting everybody, it's sort of like a trial run, of, hey, we don't park here, and then in about a month and a half, they might get a ticket if they park there.
As a diesel lover.
All right, Annie, you love a diesel only parking lot.
Diesel only.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 7.7, resolution 24-177, to approve a permit application for an event in Memorial Park by Penguin Plunge.
So moved. Second.
All right, that's on Sunday, March 2nd. There is no street fair in March, so don't have to worry about that. 12-2, for the Penguin Plunge. I heartily recommend everybody do the plunge. It was bracing. I did it last year. I did it in a, it wasn't a wetsuit, it was a regular suit.
And that was.
That's because my son abandoned my daughter and she wouldn't do it without somebody else, so I had to go do it with her. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a good dad moment. All right, any comments or questions? Of course, we want to approve this. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. 7.8, resolution 24-178, to accept the vacancy survey report conducted by the village administrator relating to the ETPA declaration of a housing emergency. Can I get on the table?
Motion.
Second.
If you can recall, we had this on the table last month and there were some requests for people to have some time to review it. And to perhaps come back with any questions or comments. I don't see anybody who has a comment or question about it. I will just say for everybody's understanding that the challenge we have, which is unique in the village of Nyack, is that we have a building that qualifies for the ETPA survey because it's built before 1974 and it has more than 6 units. That has like 180 units? It's 180 units and it's high-end luxury apartments on the waterfront. And they naturally have a relatively high vacancy rate at any given time. I did go after we did the vacancy survey and I took a tour of the building and I saw virtually all of the units that were identified as vacant and they were legitimately vacant. They were ready for rent. You know, I can't say that they were how aggressively they were seeking out people, but they were not under construction or closed off in any way. That's just the natural, most places would not have 180 units out of the 600 or so that are subject to the ETPA, would not have 180 of them be waterfront. And so that's what our challenge is. We will continue in the new year to pursue the side agreement, which I've gotten every indication from the I've been basically the holiday village guy for the last 3 weeks. I haven't had a chance to push this, but we will push it in the new year. Sitting down with them and trying to hammer out a side agreement with the landlords, wherein we would agree to forsake doing more vacancy surveys, and they would agree to certain caps on rent. At the very least, we did pass the good cause eviction statute. Are we still the only village who's done it?
I think so.
At the time, we were the only village in New York State that had passed it.
I haven't seen any other village.
I have not heard of any village doing it. It's mostly big cities doing it. So the fact
Yeah.
that a small village did it was a little unusual, so I'm proud of that. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'm kind of. The Nyack Housing Authority, how come they haven't participated or cooperated in getting information? I mean, it seems to be a no-brainer that they would be the ones who would want to come back to us with information.
And some of those buildings are younger than 1974, which is what put us in the position a couple years ago where we had, not couple, like
Last
last year, where we had to rescind. Not all of their buildings are old enough, but I thought they've been included in previous
Yeah,
surveys anyway.
there are several of their buildings
Yeah.
qualify for the ETPA.
Right.
They don't always respond to the survey request.
But if they don't respond, they get counted as a zero.
I understand that, okay, that's fine, but why wouldn't they want to cooperate with the village?
That's
Um,
Don, you have any, wait, hold on, we've
wow.
this question.
Actually, let Don do it.
Okay, Don.
Don Hammond, Dickinson Avenue, a newly appointed board member of the Housing Authority. Starting January 1st, make sure that's there so that I don't get bounced again.
Don, what's your mother's maiden name? I'm taking a minute.
And your blood type as well.
Bechtel, BCHTL, and I'm,
And that's on the record.
That's all right.
Change all your passwords.
She'd be happy to have it out there. I think that's why you've appointed new board members, to make sure that there is more accountability from the housing authority and a better relationship between the housing authority and the village. It's something that Drew and I have talked a lot about, and I've also talked about it with other board members when I was on the board for a couple of months. There are opportunities for us to work more closely with the village. And once I'm on the board and have an opportunity to work that through with our housing authority board, we'll be coming back to the board with some ideas of how we can do things better. But one of the issues is that we've really had a difficult time getting information from the housing authority on almost anything that's happened. So we'll be working on that as we.
So you'll rectify that situation, or you'll help.
I will. It is something that I'm concerned about and will bring to the board. I'm one board member.
I will say with Don being added to the board, that it's a full board, so they'll be able to have full quorum at meetings to make these decisions. And also between Don, Minerva, Sonia, and Taylor, and Linda. I'd like to think that there's enough of you who have a deep community relationships and relationships with each other that it'll work out pretty well. At least that's my hope.
How often is the housing board meeting?
It meets every month,
Everyone.
the second Tuesday of every month.
Every
You
other.
meet at the community center?
It depends. It goes back and forth. Then actually the one for December was changed to December 17th. And it's at the Depew Manor. Then the one in January will be at Walton Terrace.
And I
And the
will.
one in February will be at Depew. So it goes back and forth.
And I will say, Joe, Donna has been going to these meetings, I think since she's been on the board, pretty consistently. And is our, I guess.
Your liaison.
Yeah, she's the lady, yeah.
Just, I'll sit down and shut up because you know I can talk. Donna has been a great representative and a great liaison. She brings a lot of these issues up at the board meetings. So just so you know, she's been a very good liaison for you as a mayor.
Thank you.
I hope you understand the respect we showed you by not starting the clock on you as the former mayor. We didn't start the timer.
That's very nice, but I just want you to know, you asked me.
That's right.
It's still 3 minutes. It's still 3 minutes, Hammond.
I was off my game.
All right, we are in the middle of talking about 2024-178 about the ETPA. Any other comments or questions?
I just would like to be brought back into the loop on some of the discussions.
But we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
You've been in the loop, we just haven't moved forward. And actually, one of the things that I want to do is take a tour of some of these buildings.
I
If
love
you'd like
that.
to come and
Yeah,
film that,
I
yeah,
would.
they want the one. I can never remember the names, but the one that's at the top right
Yeah,
view.
oh, yeah,
They've been very nice,
really-
they've been great, and
and
they
they-
want us to come take a look at the
Yeah,
building.
they definitely want to.
And I have one of my son's friends lives up there, and so I've been up there.
Drive? Warren Hills?
Warren Hills, Warren Hills.
No,
Yeah, it's Warren.
Oh,
Warren
I'm
Hills.
sorry, I thought you were talking about
By the
97
cemetery.
Sickles, by the cemetery.
No,
Oh, sorry, I thought that's.
Warren, but we should go see all of them.
Yeah.
All of them that are more than 20 units, we should go take a look at.
Yeah.
Um,
In my campaigns, I always spend time up there, not at home, so.
All right, any other comments or questions? All in favor of accepting the vacancy survey report?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
I vote yes to accept it, motion passes 3-2. Make sure you mark who voted yes or no. We have 2 nays on my right.
Oh, no.
Excuse me, can I just ask, why did you, not know if you accepted it?
I just, this whole, first of all, we've been dealing with this for a long time and the tenants have been coming here and, you know, we've been going back and forth and I just don't agree.
You don't agree with what? I mean, I'm just curious as to, it might
It's
change.
fine, I don't agree, this is a vacancy study that's been going on.
Right.
And I just don't agree that with some of the findings in some of the buildings that the landlords are saying.
And you think they're not,
She doesn't want to accept the vacancy survey, she thinks it's flawed. The results are inaccurate. Is that
In
correct?
layman's terms.
right, I mean, are we gonna do another vacancy survey?
We don't have plans for it right now, I don't know if it would be any different, it's sort of at some point, you just. I mean, we don't have plans for it, what we have plans to do is to try to come up with a. Side agreement to obviate the need for to keep trying to get this done. Remember, and I will tell you, just from my passing knowledge of the real estate market, it has definitely softened, so whatever the actual real vacancy rate was 6 months ago, it's higher now. So it's not gonna get any easier to prove that there's an emergency vacancy survey. Pascal, is there any movement in Albany about getting rid of the vacancy survey requirement entirely?
I have not actually heard that. I will check in. I do have some meetings coming up with some folks who deal with housing. So I'll find out from some folks on that one if there are any changes to that requirement and what they might look like. And in terms of your question, Joe, I don't want to accept a vacancy study unless that's the one that we're accepting that we can enact the ETPA on. I think that's, we have been hearing from folks, and while I do understand what the survey results are showing, the reality is we still do have a housing issue and we're doing the best that we can. But that's my reason behind it is it is still a goal to enact the ETPA or to enact more than what we're doing, and I say that because it's also a statewide goal that I know it's shared through my regular 9 to 5, so that's why.
Yeah, I'm just, the current survey returned with a 7% rate, so it was worse than the previous 2. So I'm just wondering whether. I don't, I wish we would have brought up those issues before we had a vote right now, because I didn't know how you felt.
That was why we stated from our last meeting, was because some of these things, I know Donna, you weren't here, but some of these were concerns that we did bring up, I know they were in the meeting.
Right,
And I
right.
said, and it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Listen, I'm
What is the
thinking about
procedure
changing.
for reopening it?
I'm thinking about changing, can I change my vote?
Certainly. I would just point out, there's absolutely no requirement that we accept the vacancy survey. We don't have to. The vacancy survey exists without our accepting it or not, so it has no official, it's just simply to end the to put a final exclamation point. But if you want to make a motion to reopen that resolution, you can go ahead and do that.
Yep, let's reopen it.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
All right, we had a vote, the motion has been reopened, for rediscussion, I think this whole thing has been a waste of time to discuss it, so I'm happy to let the vote go forward, and if we don't accept it, we don't accept it, it's not gonna change the reality of the situation. Any other comment or question? All right, All in favor of accepting the audited voucher, I'm not sorry, all in favor of accepting the vacancy survey?
Other are.
All opposed?
Aye.
It's 3-1 against, I don't vote except in the case of a tie, so it's 3-1 against. But I'll put on the record that I would have voted yes if it, as I did, if it had been a tie. All right, next. We are up to 7.9, resolution 24-179 to accept ARPA spending report from the village treasurer. There's an attached report in the packet summarizing the spending of $733,946.52 in federal ARPA funds. Can I get this on the table?
Second.
Andy, you want to just give us the summary of it?
The village received a amount of money from the feds due to COVID that was proportionate to its budget. It was 733 and change. There are certain kinds of expenditures which are eligible for that money. This is a list which only includes eligible projects, so basically capital project, capital equipment. And was reviewed by our auditor and our treasurer, and we did a little research trying to find projects which qualify, and this is a list we got. And it basically spends the money all the way down to zero.
Excellent. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have, on the list, you have, what does the green area represent?
This was it went back and forth between me and the treasurer a bunch of times. And I was looking for just the dates on those expenditures. And so I had highlighted it back to her, but I didn't have those before the meeting, so I didn't update the
So
spreadsheet.
all these projects, even though it's there's a green next to it, they've been completed.
Yeah, I had that green there to remind myself that I still don't have the dates for those expenditures. But yeah, they're all built.
Yeah.
Are some of these, like, I know it was it ARPA money that we got or just like other also groups within? I'm just confused because I'm seeing like Emblem Health and stuff like that. I'm not sure if that's expenses that were from us or if it was something different. I'm sorry.
Where do you see Emblem Health on there?
Well, I mean, it says dental insurance, so I'm assuming it has to do with.
You're probably looking at the audited summary.
Oh, okay, so then, just kidding, never mind.
Yeah.
Give me no mind. Yeah, no, yeah, thank you, never mind, thank you. I don't have any questions, I need to look at this, sorry.
I take that.
Anybody else comments or questions? All in favor of accepting the ARPA spending report?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 7.10, resolution 24-180 to amend the master fee schedule to insert fee for payment in lieu of construction of affordable housing units as per Village Code Section 120. Can I get this on the table?
Motion.
Second.
This is simply a correction of something that was an oversight of some point in the legislation.
So the legislation allows the village board to set this fee by resolution. And last time the village did amendments to legislation, we forgot to pass a corollary resolution setting the fee. There was discussion that it needed to be increased to $100,000, and there's review of comparable villages and so on and so forth. But we couldn't find the actual resolution of a vote setting the fee, so we wanted to make sure we nailed that down.
Voted for that. I can be sure that we did it, but it may be that we did not memorialize it. And it may be that it was done prior to the establishment of the master fee schedule. That's what I think happened.
Yeah,
I think we did it before the master fee schedule. But it doesn't matter. We're
Yeah,
fixing it now.
Yeah, I remember us talking about it.
We looked for it.
What year was that?
What year
Master fee
was,
schedule was about 2 years ago that we did that.
No, but when you talked about raising it to what
It was my first year, it was 21.
it's 22. After I came on board, with then Mayor Hammond and the rest of the board, we significantly revised Chapter 120, adding a whole administrative process to it. And at that time, there was research into and discussion of raising the payment in lieu. If somebody can find the resolution, the clerk has looked for it
It
We
doesn't
couldn't-
matter,
we
we're just
couldn't
doing it
find it.
now, it hasn't
Yeah.
affected anything that's been done. in the
Yeah,
meantime.
but it is important to set it because
Yes,
there are
absolutely.
projects.
Yeah,
and-
so I.
Yeah, but further to that, in the, you sent me the, affordable housing program policies and procedures. That, we can, change it to, take into account, inflation, for instance. So since that time, there's been about a 20% inflation rate. So I would suggest we raise it to 120,000.
I'm not gonna, and that's entirely a legislative decision, so.
We can set it wherever we want, it's just, it's in the master fee schedule.
Whatever number you want to put on it is you have the jurisdiction to do that.
And I have further questions, an affordable housing fund, what's the current balance?
It's roughly a little over $100,000.
Okay. And it's just sitting, right?
We use a little bit of it for the, I believe for the consulting fees for the revision of the affordable housing law last time around.
Right,
Very, very little of it's been used.
and that's with Jerry, and that's a concern of mine, I don't mean to cut you off, are we going to maybe have a meeting or talk about that at some point, what that money, what we're planning on doing with that money, or?
Those discussions did take place back in 23, I think, when we did our major revision. And I can ask Jerry to come in again and we could go back over some of those ideas that were discussed. I know you and I talked about it a lot. And so far, there's been no use of that fund. Other than a sort of a nominal amount, I believe, for the housing consulting work that she did.
If we
So-
could somehow maybe have a meeting in the coming year for that, that would be really
Yeah.
great, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did talk to Jerry yesterday, day before yesterday, actually, trustee Carlin came in, reminded me. And she is indeed continuing to monitor our affordable units and work with the owners of those properties to properly certify and recertify tenants to make sure they still are eligible for the apartments there. Or if they have to rent it to a new person, that person's paperwork is reviewed. And she gets paid for that by the developer. Village doesn't have to be involved directly. But I think what we would like to see is some sort of a report showing that she's completed that and that all of our properties are properly monitored, essentially.
And the recertification of all of the affordable housing units on a biannual basis, apparently, according to the
They have to,
Right, each tenant, every 2 years, they're supposed to re-qualify to ensure they still have the household income that makes them eligible for affordable unit.
but in like the Nyack Plaza and some of the other apartment buildings that are low income, they happen every year.
every year.
Yeah, they have to do an inspection in the apartments and recertify.
Isn't that true because of HUD or whatever the federal
Yeah, that
program
could
is?
possibly that too involved.
There's also a situation, I sent you an email about this,
Mhm.
maybe can you send it out and show what questions I asked?
I'll share it with the rest of the board if you'd like.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah. But so I went through the document and a couple of things I needed clarifications, so. Are you feeling what I'm?
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about, sorry, I just noticed something,
Okay.
totally not
Look,
correct.
This is a very important issue for all of us, and I think we need to get clarity. And the monitoring agency, which is RHAC, is there a resolution appointing them, or how is that done? I mean, I'm not trying to disparage or but it needs to be an official act by the village board to appoint the Rockland Housing Action Coalition to be the monitoring agency, right?
I think it was,
Yeah.
I think it was,
yeah.
That's what I'm asking,
Yeah, honestly,
They were.
they were so integral to our policy-making process that
Okay.
I'm not sure there was ever a formal resolution saying, you're our agency, but it was certainly intended to be so. It may be in the local law 120 somewhere. I'm just not sure. It's been a little while since I've read the whole thing.
I have a lot of questions about that.
Yeah.
Because it's,
I think you, at least for the history of it, you may wanna look at the mayor emeritus over there. He sounds like he's got some background. But I don't wanna take up too much time, I'm just, you know, you may wanna connect with him offline
I'll
for
talk
some
to
of
you
that,
about it.
that little background.
Okay.
All right, so what's on the table is the idea of raising it from 100 to 120,000 as part of this actual formalization of what we thought we decided a few years ago. I don't have any objection either way. I mean, I think the inflation issue cuts both ways because it's also become a lot more expensive to build anything
Right.
than it was 2 years ago, so the expenses of the construction is higher, making it even more difficult for them to afford to do it if they have to give up revenue on the rental side. But I don't think it's an outrageous change, so I'm not against it. Anybody else?
I wasn't sure, I mean, I'm fine either way, did you wanna just talk with Jerry at first before, or you're cool? Like, I just, you know.
About the 120?
No, well, I guess in general, for some clarification on your questions, or are you like, I'm not sure, like, I don't care, I'm just more asking.
How do you,
Yeah.
she might have input, I mean, we could,
That's
if
why
you
maybe
would
we
like
should-
agree with the resolution, we could always change it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we could do
Cause
that.
I'm
Then
generally
she
not,
might get more.
Maybe
feedback
have a
from her.
meeting, have it come before. the
right,
board.
cause I'm like, maybe, yeah, I'm not even, I don't disagree, I just, you know,
That would be good,
And she'd
Yeah.
be better equipped to.
absolutely.
All right, so I suggest passing the resolution as is, and then we can always, it's something we can change by resolution from around. It's not
Exactly.
legislative, we don't need a public hearing on it.
oh, even better, yeah.
All right, we just change it, you change the master fee schedule just by resolution, that's the whole beauty of the master fee
Well,
schedule.
I guess before we vote, more like a scheduling note, whatever day she comes in, do we wanna maybe put it as a resolution after discussing it with her? Or no, alright.
No, the whole point is we want flexibility to be able to,
No, I know, I'm saying whatever day like that she comes in, that, you know, we have a presentation or a workshop, do we wanna just also happen to have it on the, you know,
No.
agenda that day, I don't know, just.
to
More
have
of
it as a possibility to.
Yeah,
change
to change it,
another
yeah, just a thought, I don't,
Change
you
it,
don't have
yeah.
to go crazy about that now, that was just, I wanted to put that out there, so, yeah.
All right, so all in favor of accepting the resolution as is? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that is resolution 24-180 passes unanimously. The next resolution we've already passed, resolution 24-182 to approve additional funding of $25,000 to the residential sidewalk repair incentive program.
Agree.
Can I get? Probably 182.
Oh, no, they-
182.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yours is the correct one.
my numbering is different.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's there was a misnumbering, which we know, so going by my count, so just cross that out and put 182. All right, can I get that on the table?
Motion?
Second.
So this is we've had a very successful run with the sidewalk incentive program. How many sidewalks have we done?
Probably about a dozen.
All right, and so we can probably do about another dozen more.
Nice.
All right, so
Everybody's
that's good,
really pleased.
slowly by slowly
Good.
improving the
Yeah.
landscape. I would say I would approve this. I would suggest the last time we do it in this fiscal year, like if we're gonna approve, we should have a budget item. For how much we're gonna approve for this, because this is $25,000 that happened to be from the surplus of last year.
Mhm.
But we have not systematically looked at, hey, what are all the things that we could do with $25,000? And it may be that there are more effective things that we could do than help some homeowners repair the sidewalks that are their responsibility. But I do think it's been a good program. I think we probably underfunded it a little bit at 25.
I think we underfunded it. I actually think, I feel like people really do like it, cause God knows how many times I hear about, oh, these damn sidewalks and everyone complaining about it. But I do agree, you know, cause we just don't know what's gonna come down the pipe in terms of like funding and things like that. I think it's fair to be a little conservative.
I would say, yeah, I agree with that. And I would just say, Andy, I think that
You guys are great.
we've had some difficulties getting a final number on what was the surplus from fiscal year ending 24. And what that amount was, and we should be making very informed decisions about how that money should be allocated, because I know we need some of it for the roof. If we can't get a grant for it, we're putting some of it into this. We've got a couple of nickel and dime things we bought. I don't know if I forget if the speakers were on our budget or not to buy new speakers. We spent a couple grand on that, but I think we should have a, you know, almost like a mid-year budget discussion of like, okay, what adjustments can we make to the budget? Because we're not supposed to carry a big surplus. That's the idea, so we're not supposed to, we can put some of it away. But we should allocate it to some, I'd like to start to do that in the new year. Before we end up with, all of a sudden running into next year's fiscal year. And while he's here, we'll thank Don Hammond for passing a budget that ended up with a nice surplus that allows us to be profligate in our sidewalk repairs. And just keep throwing money at the sidewalk repair.
It was, as Walter would say, you're spending it like drunken sailors.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least those drunken sailors won't trip on a crack in a sidewalk, so they're prepared.
Dennis don't say that, and I feel like you should say it a little more.
And Joe, I completely agree with what you said.
We should just have we should make it like, it should be a process that we allocate the money in. All right, but anyway, all in favor of the resolution 182 for the sidewalk repair program? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. 7.13, resolution 24-183 on my numbering, approving the proposed meeting schedule for the land use boards in 2025. Can I get on the table?
Second.
I know we're not gonna have any questions or comments
Yeah.
about that. So is there any, if there are no questions or comments,
Why aren't they meeting in August? I think that's kind of crazy. We meet in August.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. 7.14, resolution 24-184. Permit application for street closures on North Road for 2 events by Marines Jazz Cellar. Can I get on the table?
Motion.
Second.
These are also events that have taken place in the past. It's very nice that she's getting us the dates this far in advance. This is kind of a new thing we're doing, where we get all the dates.
This is
So,
good.
but this is good that we get these things in advance. And she's doing the 2 events. She's not doing interestingly, she's not doing the
Bluegrass.
Deadhead. Or is it,
Yeah,
is Dancing in the Streets the Deadhead one?
No.
No, that's the bluegrass one that she's not
She's not
doing.
doing that, okay, so she's
Yeah.
doing, that was not as successful as the Dance in the Streets and the Jazz Festival, so I think it's a wonderful events. I want to thank Brianne again for donating the board that we use to regulate the sound. And for getting these mics that my colleagues have now pointed toward the ground, so they can't actually be picked up.
Oh, it needs to, I don't want it to be too loud.
Okay,
Pretty loud.
any other comments or questions?
No.
All in favor of 24-184?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. That is it for the resolutions. Time for department reports. Andy,
Let's see, a couple little things.
do we have a date? We have a date in January, right?
Yes, our next meeting is January 6th.
We have a date for the meeting of the police, right? For the
We have a,
for the home indigents.
right, that's on January 13th. And I've started inviting people. We got the police, some other group responded. I'll keep on building that list of agencies.
Can you add soup angels? I know Elaine.
They're always invited.
they're-
Yeah,
okay.
she already received.
Okay,
it.
she had a-
She hasn't,
got it.
I didn't see her confirm ring, but hopefully she will.
Okay, so
We have it at 7:30?
Yeah,
I'll send that over to Elaine. She may nudge them.
little nudge can't hurt. Yeah, I just wanted to mention the, some really good things are happening after the whole Holiday Village thing. And Michelle Whalen has really leaned in and getting the Nyack High School Orchestra to come play on the sidewalk coming up this weekend is really exciting. And the drama club has been recruited to create some sort of gingerbread like decorations for around the kiosk by the farmers market. So she's doing a wonderful job of sort of lining up a little extra entertainment for the street, which is great to see.
She's wonderful.
I just wanted to mention as well that our sustainability cruise, that $375,000 grant, which we were talking about before, has been approved. So we're definitely getting the money now, which is really exciting. Last time it was in the pipeline, we hadn't received confirmation. So it looks like this project for Village Hall becoming a zero emissions building has some real legs to it now. We still need final numbers in terms of cost estimates on the retrofit of the HVAC system over to heat pumps, and some other things. And there's going to be a lot to coordinate between the roof project, the solar project, and the new heating and cooling system. And the LED lights and new ceiling for this room, because
So fantastic.
everything's going to have to fit together. Inevitably, there'll be some disruptions, but it's very exciting to have the funding
That's great.
to do that.
It's great.
And then we also have the solar. We have the money for basically 3 solar arrays, one here, one on the DPW and one on Head Start. Again, there's a lot to work out there, but once we have the DPW one is pretty straightforward. As soon as we replace that roof, we can put the solar up there. We're gonna go to bid on the roof soon. The village board gave me permission to do that already. The design is almost complete, so that'll come out and hopefully we'll get that construction going. The construction in front of the DPW is proceeding really well. The major culvert work there where Nyack Brook goes under the parking lot is probably about 80% done now. A couple more sections of pipe need to go in there. The water main replacement project is coming along. The Fletcher Kramer has got their feet on the ground. They did a lot of work on Fifth Avenue in the vicinity of Bosse's, Central and Francis. And tomorrow they're going to start trenching on Central and putting in new water lines there. So there's a lot going on in the village.
When I guess the roof project starts, I'm assuming that like will we be allowed to continue in this room or court and everything, or
We're gonna figure out a way to have uninterrupted. Just it may look like a construction zone, but we'll have lights and heat and so on.
And actually, I've suggested, and we haven't put the dates on it yet, but that we move the meeting around next year.
Right, we can always go out.
Do it at the senior center, do it up at the community housing meeting room. So
I think that's a great.
bring it out
idea,
closer to
actually.
people who live here. Maybe the Nyack Center for particularly, if we expect a large crowd. Just to get it out, just a little change of pace.
no, I think that's right.
I think people appreciate it.
Hmm.
All right, anything else from Mandy?
That's it.
I have a question about any news about the DRI?
No,
No, we won't know until January. That doesn't get decided. We won't even find out about it unless we get it. If we get it, we'll know. If we don't get it, there'll be a press conference in Westchester that we'll find out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if
and
I
the
get
governor will
invited
be
to a
there.
press conference in Westchester, I'll let you
Just
guys
let me know.
So if you're invited to a press conference, we'll know that.
We'll know that we lost.
Oh, no, well, I went,
Well, we have a press
So,
conference, yes. that would
I
be-
went to the
would be good.
last DRI press conference and I was thinking to myself, wow, so when are they gonna announce for the smaller villages, not really understanding that that was it.
That was it,
So,
that was it, yeah, that's what, last year I was scouring every half day, I was scouring the news to see if there was any press conference for announcement, because if it's announced for our local area, that's it.
Yeah,
There's only one for our local area.
basically, if Andy hears from the governor, then that's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
That
If
we-
you get a call from the governor,
If you
return
get a call to like
You
try
get
to
a
schedule
518
a press.
518 number, call us, you pick it up.
457.
457, pick it up.
I got my hopes up.
Okay. Anything else for Andy? All right, the old business, 8.1, Andy sent around, did you send around a modified version of the parking memo?
Yeah, I did.
We do want to explore the possibility of getting some sort of permit parking system put in place for the area around the hospital. We're not gonna pursue it until we have another forum with the people who live in the area to make sure that's what they want, because there are some negatives with having a permit parking system, because it's not just the hospital people that can't park there, it's also their friends and people that don't have parking permits and don't pay for the parking permits, et cetera, and they have to pay for the parking permit, which they may not want to do, so. They will have to have the conversation with them about that, but it is, I think we've tried to be responsive to the concerns that people had. We've had a couple of forum meetings with them, and now we're gonna actually put in place something that they can decide whether that's the avenue they want us to go down.
Do you know when that next meeting might be at all?
123, right?
We have a meeting on January 23rd. We could run a workshop on the 23rd on this topic if you wanted to do that.
That might be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, maybe that's a good way to kick it off.
We haven't done a
Yeah.
workshop in a while.
Yeah.
I would also just recommend touching base with Assemblyman Carroll's office.
Whose office?
Pat Carroll.
I also had a nice conversation with Senator Weber this last week at an event, who brought up the fact that our hotel tax may be sunsetting. I don't know how long, you said we might have only had it for a 3-year process.
Was it a 3-year or
I don't
5-year
remember.
sunset?
I'm looking at, come on, it was your thing.
Sunset.
You don't remember?
So
Just that 3.
It's not
yeah,
permanent.
it's not a
Okay.
permanent.
They never are.
one, and it has to get renewed through the state
never
every year. Well, not every year, every time it sunsets, I don't think the state ever makes it permanent.
He said he would be helpful, he was, you know, he
Yeah.
was eager to help us get that renewed for another term. Which we obviously want to do, because that's been a very, very useful for purposes of helping our revenue situation. All right, and we, as I already mentioned, we have the community forum on January 13th. On quality of life, indigency and whatever other issues come up regarding to policing. We obviously made the difficult decision a few weeks ago about removing the benches from Easter Square. It has had an impact, that plus the overnight curfew on it. In terms of it reducing the incidence of people camping out in the square during the night or during the day even. And we will at some point in the new year look at put the benches back. As we said, the idea was to break the cycle that we were in and kind of, you know, move along.
In the warming center, we've been making an effort to get the word out about the warming centers. Putting flyers in all of the storefronts and library, village hall. And I actually had a chance, I went to the warming center with my wife. And I was trying to convince some of the guys out there to take advantage of the warming center. And they were telling me, well, they don't want to go there, which they don't want to sleep, quote unquote, with one eye open. And so I went there and I was pleasantly surprised. It's a well cared for, well organized, safe and secure location. Hot meals when they arrive. They get a change of clothing. There's a laundry machine, washing, dryers, segregated sleeping areas for the men and the women. And it's really run like a really tight ship. I mean, the guy who runs it is a former New York City corrections officer, and but it's a very pleasant atmosphere. Everybody is very, very pleasant. They don't allow inebriated people to come in. They do a breathalyzer test on them. And they make them sit in the corner on the side until their blood levels go down, so they become sober. They're not even allowed to bring in their own backpacks and suitcases. They have to leave them outside in a secure location, because they don't want to have anybody bringing in, God forbid, weapons or knives or whatever. And so with that information, we went around and we talked to a lot of them, and lo and behold, they started to go. And we're going to get a sandwich board that we're going to put outside of the First Reformed Church on South Broadway, with the pickup area. This is where they pick up, so everybody knows. So it's a question of getting the word out. So I think it's helping. I think it's helping.
That's good.
Any other comments or questions about that? All right, we're on to new business.
Yep.
The first item of new business, which we've not discussed before, so I'm gonna raise it. We're not ready. Do we need a resolution to do this, or do we just do it internally? But I will get the sense of the board before we launch. It would be something that we launch in the new year. Where this comes from, the incentivizing staff health screenings, is that two things. One, I had someone very close to me who, by virtue of the fact that they do a regular cancer screening because of family history, caught something in a very early stage, which is going to make a big difference to their prognosis. And it reminded me of the fact that at my company, my real estate company, when I worked at there, we would do a bunch of regular contests, and then every once in a while in the contest, where you get a sale, you get a point, you do this, you get a point. We would give people points for getting a cancer screening. Which we never validated. We just would say, if you say you got a cancer screening, you get a point. And we had at least 3 occasions where people, because they did the cancer screening, because of the encouragement they wanted to point in the contest, actually caught something. And I think that obviously with any of this, really people need to just want to remind everybody, go get your PSA done, go do your breast examination, go do your skin test every year, go do those things and catch them earlier. Your odds are much better in terms of beating it. And so for purposes of the village employees, we thought about how could we incentivize them to do screenings, to go do their own screenings. Again, not that we get proof of it, just that they represent that they've done it, and what we said was that, and I wanna just run it by you. The thought is that we incentivize them with a day off. Get a cancer screening, get a day off, it's the one thing that they would appeal to them. It's a clear, and it's something we're allowed to be able to do, apparently, not have we don't have to have it, it's just a morale and gift thing and show that we value them and we want them to be healthy, and I don't think it sets any precedent, because I think it's a sui generis, it's a unique situation to say to people that we care about you, we want you to get tested, and we want you to be healthy. And so if with your general approval, we would launch that in the new year. And again, we're not getting test results, we're not asking them for proof of, that you got a test, they would probably show us something where they went to, they right now get time to go to the doctor, they don't need the day to go to the doctor.
Right, you can take a sick day to go to doctor's appointments or.
Yeah, so they get time to go to the doctor, this would not be, you get a day so you can go to the doctor, instead if you get the test, you get a free day off, and with the provision, you have to work out with your supervisor, and everybody takes the same day, you can't have that. And whatnot, so with the normal caveats of applying to it, but I think it'd be well received, and I think it'd be a nice gesture of us and our concern for the staff that works here.
Before I answer that question, because I think that is a good idea, but if we're gonna be doing something along these lines, I would like to see other things to kind of boost morale as well, and not just this incentive, but let's come up with other things, because I think that that's really important.
I agree, I would love that, that's what I did my whole career, was trying to find ways to build culture in organizations,
I
so
think
yeah.
that's really important.
But I think this is a good one, I think this is a nice start.
Natalie, we're gonna say something.
So you're getting a day off, so this is a paid day off, right?
Yeah, paid day. I mean, we're already paying them, so it's a paid day.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with this. What about for some staff members who may not be old enough for certain, like, I don't really get a cancer screening.
You
I don't
should,
need one. I'm not old enough to get one. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
well,
Certain.
That's where the controversy
Right,
lies,
yeah,
because
it's like
there's
there's-
an age, but they're
Yeah.
finding things younger.
Oh no, they are finding
Yeah,
things
yeah.
younger, but I bring it up because I also bring up the insurance portion of it that I don't like. I'm not really familiar with the village insurance plan, but like my insurance will tell me, yeah, you're not old enough for like a breast cancer screening or a colonoscopy. So like, is there an alternative? Like maybe instead of that, like you go get your flu shots this year or something, or like, just I like the idea of it, but I think I want to be cognizant. Some of us, just by virtue of the fact that our insurance won't cover it.
anymore, yeah, you're right. I'm
I
too
think
old
we
to-
just gotta figure out a way to make it generic so it applies to everybody.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's all. I'm
If you're
saying.
getting an annual physical, your
Yeah,
doctor's gonna
right.
tell you what you need to do.
Right. Yeah, that's when I do see my doctor.
I
and
would say an
that's-
annual physical would qualify, because
Right.
they're gonna screen for whatever.
Yeah, and if they need to
should
send
get
you to a
annual
urologist or whatever.
Yeah, that's like my
Oh, you-
only,
Are we talking about
Only
one day?
immortal young people,
One a year.
vulnerable young people. Yes.
I'm gonna live forever, guys. I'm just saying.
You should get your skin exam, skin exam should be everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's a
think
year
that
for
that's really important, because I found out there was like, forget it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna say, cause we're like
I'm
on
sorry.
TV, so I'm not gonna name the dermatologist at this moment, I'll wait till offline. But here I am, I go to this person, they're supposed to be fabulous, and I go, I've just been concerned, there was just a little, oh, that's nothing, you get something online. Well, I have a doctor at Mount Sinai, and when he saw it, he goes, I think you should see someone, that was skin cancer.
Yeah,
And so with people of color,
right.
it's in places that you would not necessarily see.
Yeah.
And so it is important to have things done. But offline, I'll tell you where not to go in case if you go.
Yeah, I'd love to know. Yeah, it's like I said, I'm more thinking of like insurance purposes
Yeah.
and because I definitely think anyone should take advantage of what they can, but I don't want that to be a barrier to folks.
I'm just gonna point out that according to a couple of sources I just looked up, you should start getting your skin check at age 18.
Look,
There you go.
I'll ask him. I will talk to my doctor. I didn't know that, so I'm just
As an annual thing, is what we talking about?
As an annual.
like I'm thinking of the
Yeah.
the more common.
And it's for one day.
Yeah.
It's one day, yeah, there you get one day. Now, we think about it, we're not gonna launch anything until January, but if you wanna think about it, we wanna
It's a
we
great
want to
idea,
frame it
for
in one
sure.
house.
Some kind of
Help.
It's right,
incentive for
incentive, yeah.
going for your annual
For
physical.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wellness, yes.
Okay.
Oh, and also I think in that it might be worth for, depending on how you do it, mental health as well.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, mental health.
well, we'll
yeah.
keep thinking through this, we'll keep thinking through it.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
general,
Generally, I like the idea.
yeah, general
It's great.
concept is to
Yeah.
try to get people to
But thank you
focus
for
on their health
thinking
and
about
wellness.
those things and also for morale. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
All right, the next issue, as you can see, there's zoning. We have if you look on the map, we have a multifamily district. Where is it?
Yes.
Where's the multifamily district over here? Is it? Yeah, okay.
Doing well.
So you see this, the MFR one, you can see this district, this blue line is a multifamily district
Yeah.
surrounded by single family,
Yes.
okay?
Hear my house.
This right here is where, the two churches, St. Anne's
St.
and
Anne's and
Grace
Grace,
Episcopal,
yeah.
are
Yeah,
both in
okay.
there, and they have basically that whole block. And here is where the nunnery was, that just
Yeah.
got sold.
Right.
I'm proposing that we expand the multifamily district to encompass all of the property up to the other side of Jefferson included in that. And the reason for that is that when property is, right now, all of those properties are pre-existing uses as religious uses.
Mm.
And they're restricted for that purpose, which would mean that if someone were to buy it, they could only sell it to somebody who was gonna use it for a religious purpose. Or they could knock it down and put up single family homes, but no one's gonna do that. They're gonna use it for some sort of religious purpose, or else they're gonna knock it down or use it to build multifamily homes. So we wanted to at least give the option for somebody who owns that property, namely the two churches, that if they ever were to sell any of the property, they have the option to sell to somebody who would develop it for multifamily homes, because we'd like to have more multifamily homes built in the district, and we don't want to put restrictions on landowners.
This does require a public hearing, right?
This would require absolutely a public hearing, this is a change of zoning.
Yeah.
But I'd like to, we want to get started, we want to get started in the January, and we want to get it done. You know, right now, there's no, as far as we know, there is no present intent of anyone to sell any of that property, but there is the possibility of sometime in the future.
But they did buy someone
The
did,
nunnery got
the
sold,
nunnery got sold.
and the nunnery is going to need
Yeah, probably very.
is gonna need a variance to continue to be a multifamily home.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be, and I believe that the planning department will work with because I think it was bought by the fire department for use for housing for volunteer firefighters.
Oh, cool.
But there is a lot of property there that I think we'd like to allow it to be used for development rather than just for single family homes if it ever were sold.
When we say it's an MFR one? What's the, I can't see.
It's currently a TFR,
It's two family.
Family.
What's the blue area?
the blue is.
That's multifamily residential.
Multifamily residential.
Yeah,
But it still has to comport with the other zoning restrictions, high density.
Yes, it'd be subject to the multifamily residential restrictions.
I'll say, I think, you and I have spoken about this a little bit, I think some of those which namely the school, I don't know what the church plans to do with it, but that could probably be an adapted reuse.
Or, I mean, if the building were kept intact.
Yeah, the building
It
was
also-
intact, yeah.
Yeah, it also, I mean, I think the thing is, it would severely limit the potential buyers for the property if
Yes.
it were left in its current condition.
Yeah.
And we'd like to make sure
Yeah.
that developers can look at it, and we do want housing built, so it's a good opportunity to build out that. If indeed that's the property became available, building housing there would make sense. I mean, I think not necessarily for the churches, but certainly for the St. Anne's. Well, the neighbors would, they bought houses next to a school, so buying houses next to a school versus buying houses next to a small apartment building would not be that different.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying, it wouldn't be, but I think I don't see, I live there, so I don't see anyone going nuts, but I definitely think people wanna see something positive happen.
I think that's right.
I mean, St. Anne's, the school, I mean, that would be a fantastic location for some affordable housing.
Agreed.
Right?
I agree.
And is it something that perhaps the village can Those would take off on that.
I think certainly if that property ever becomes available, we're gonna be involved in the discussions on it. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do with that property, including, there's a lot of needs the village has for student, for activities, for senior center, for things like that, that could be relocated to that location if we wanted to take possession of it. But I do think that we definitely wanna, there's no reason not to rezone it, given that it's right across the street from an existing multifamily residential zone. And it's right now big lots, there's no single family homes on any of those blocks that we're talking about, or at least not on the other side of Third, there might be, but not on the side of Third,
I would
that's
say this one.
not on the south side of Third.
Yeah, I would be in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it.
Alright, so let's set that for, let's start the process for a public hearing for January for that.
I have a meeting with our planner tomorrow to start developing that legislation.
Alright, just wanna get that process started. Anything else on new business? We have communications from Barbara Noyes about the Penguin plans which we've approved. We do, item number 11, public comments on any topic. Does anybody else? Make me public comment?
So there's a
I'm
hand.
sitting here, people found out I was here, so they sent me stuff that they wanted.
Oh,
Oh, no. Come on, Mayor Meredith.
Oh, you brought people up to the meeting, okay?
Don Hammond, 29 Dickinson Avenue. Carl Dubison has a special event every Christmas where he and a bunch of other guys that are friends of his buy presents for kids in the plaza. And they would like to use, they usually use the senior center building on Christmas Eve from like 3 to 8 o'clock to distribute. They have Santa Claus come. They do a lot of stuff. He usually coordinates it with the NAACP and some other groups. I know they're already planning some things, so he may be a little bit late, but he found out I was here and he asked me to ask.
he wants to use the senior center.
Senior Center, December 24th from 3 to 8.
Just, well, let's delegate to Andy the
Yeah.
responsibility to approve that. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, he does it every year. It's a good thing, yeah.
No Grinches on the board that wanna say,
Hell no.
we have to have a resolution
So,
filed a month in
listen, I'll
advance.
ask the Rich. I think that would be fun for the kids. Joe and Joe?
It sounds like they got something.
It's like
Yes,
a
what's next?
restaurant.
The RHAC, Jerry has retired.
Again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have appointed an interim, this is just for information, I could do this after the meeting too, but there's a new interim, I'm on their board. There's a new interim, Teresa Smith. So I would think that you would want to meet with Teresa, maybe with Jerry here to make sure that everything, so that you get to know her. I would also tell you that we did approve a contract. And so that was by resolution for Jerry to be the consultant.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best way to go. Do it by contract when you come up with things that you need.
Yeah.
But RHEC has changed leadership. Jerry is still a consultant, so she'll be helping Teresa and then passing stuff off to her. So just for
Thank you very
Is the-
much.
So
Yeah.
is the contract with Jerry or is it with the RHAC?
It's with RHAC.
For all future meetings, Don's going to attend and you can email him
Yes.
with your request for public comment and he'll just come up and
use
relay it. He's a community advocate.
And by the way, thank you for all the work that you do for our village. I really appreciate it. I know what it's like to sit up there. And I really appreciate all the efforts you put in to make our village better. Happy holidays and to you and your family.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
yours.
I'm serious, new community
Oh, God.
liaison.
No, I got enough to do now.
Great.
If you want to meet the Housing Authority Board and ask me to try to fix it, that's enough.
I talked to Don last week about it, but I don't understand. Is
He's
that,
walking coming.
I'm trying to kick it again.
Oh.
Oh, what-
Yeah.
I don't understand. I asked the guys, they're very, very nice guy. I'm good friends with him. Your property.
Wait, first, before you go on, could you say who you are?
Drew Burke.
If you're speaking to the microphone, that's the whole purpose of
I'm
it.
only talking to you guys.
I know.
We still can't hear that well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Used to that.
I
We
know.
got electrocuted.
Hopefully not.
We have good insurance.
I spoke to those guys at the parking authority, and it doesn't make any sense. If you know the history of Walden Terrace, they told me there used to be a dog racing track up there, big gambling and everything, that became affordable housing, 1962. But when you talk to people, they call it Clarkstown. But everybody, no matter what part of the property, if you go up Pine Street and keep continuing on Pine Street, once you continue to the west side, your parking authority can't give out parking tickets, but everybody who lives there can vote for all of you. So is it Nyack, Clarkstown? If you go to the executive office on Highview, they can give out parking tickets. If you come up from Walden Parish, you can give out parking tickets. Now, you can't give out parking tickets to the parking spaces. But people that are parked in fire lanes, stuff like that, and
That's
around that
Clarkstown.
circle up by the office where the executive office is, doesn't make sense that when I continue on Pine Street, everybody there can vote. Considered part of Nyack, you can vote for the mayor, you can vote for the town supervisor, and all those guys. Why can't you give out parking tickets? And why haven't and how come in my 16 years of being around this part, I've been in Nyack since '81, but nobody goes up there and gives out.
Are you actually coming and asking us to
No.
issue more parking tickets to your area?
No,
Because this would be an unusual, we should mark the date.
no,
Doesn't happen that often.
no. If that was always considered, since 1962, that's part of Nyack.
If it's part of that, then it's subject to the parking authority.
But the whole thing is part of Nyack, but we can only give up tickets this way, but we can't go that way. and give
Is
out
the
parking
issue that
tickets.
some of the housing land is owned by the village, but it's not in the village? Is that-
No.
is that the
No, it's
issue?
all in the village,
It's all in the village.
but some of the streets are actually in Clarkstown, they're central nine.
Okay,
So we don't have authority over those streets.
Yeah.
You would have to annex that property in order to be able to enforce.
Yeah, and I'm just looking here, it looks like that is where the area you're talking about is where our borders do stop.
It
So that is
doesn't make sense.
Clarkstown.
That doesn't make sense. We say, how come the people that live on continuous of Pine Street, that goes around the corner, before you get to the houses, these guys are, those houses are ours except for the Pine Street homes. But they can vote for the politicians here and Clarkstown as well. But you can't, and you plow that street. Clarkstown doesn't plow that street, Nyack does. But yet.
Right, so how about this, Drew?
But yeah, you
If
can't
you
give out
see,
parking
if you
tickets.
see a vehicle parked in violation of the parking regulation, please text it to me and we'll test that proposition.
Yeah, because if they can do Highview Court, why can't they do the rest of Pine Street?
and for
If
the
it's in the
record,
village of Nyack, it's subject to the parking authority.
and just for the record, I want to disclaim any
And then I gave-
intention to annex any part of Clarkstown. I don't really want to hear from George Hoffman.
Yeah.
In the meeting, I entertained the thought of annexing little aspects of streets, so that's not on the agenda to take over Clarkstown.
I am, speaking of parking, I just want to consider the last Saturday before Christmas, if we could have free parking at Ardley.
Also, why hasn't we done free parking this year?
Because it's a terrible idea and I didn't want to.
Yeah, I know you do.
It's a terrible idea, and we don't need to, I have some agenda setting responsibility, so I didn't bring it up.
Yeah, I
And we
know.
brought it up.
I know, but
Free parking is a terrible idea. It's very confusing. And all it does is tell people to squat who live on, everybody who lives on Main and on Bridge and all those, they all just, they just park the car and they leave it there from Friday night all the way through the weekend. Because we don't charge for parking. I'm telling you, it's a bad idea. And also right now we don't communicate it well. Everyone gets confused. They park on the street and they get a ticket and they get mad. They don't realize that it's just for a particular lot. I'm just gonna tell you, please. I've spent 100 hours trying to drive people to come down to the village to shop this holiday season. None of it involves giving them free parking. What we need to do in the new year, if you want to deal with the parking issue, the way we deal with it in the new year is we go to the business owners. We say we want to start a validation program whereby you give a $3 credit on your bill to people that spend a certain amount of money and thereby pay for their parking. And then we can say parking is free and not if you come shop, if you come dine. But otherwise, we have parking rules are not in place to earn money for the village. They're in place to increase motility of the parking so that people don't squat on spaces. And that's why we charge for parking. And that's why there's a big difference. If you come downtown on Sunday, there are no spots. You come down on Saturday, there are spots.
That's true.
All right, Mr. Grinch.
I will happily be a Grinch on this.
Yeah, you got
I'm thinking, I want to preserve spots.
Okay,
Alright, on that note.
So that's my response. This is a hill, this is a hill I will die on. I will die on. No free parking. All right,
Anything else?
my friends, thank you for coming to the meeting. We are going to go into executive session. We are not going to conduct any business after the executive session, so you are free to leave and go back to your lives. We are going to, after the executive session, we are going to adjourn in the memory of Marie Lorenzini, Karen Quinn, and Jim Leaner. So we will do that, but that's the only thing we will do of substance after we have the executive